Hello, thank you so much for joining us today for our Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations webinar. This is a series for SDMO that we're doing. This is our second video, and we are very excited to show you the distribution features and get into some nitty-gritty aspects of the system. I have Tara on today. She's going to be presenting for us. If you missed our webinar in February, you can go to our website, stewarttechnologies.com, and check that out along with a bunch of other recorded demos. So without further ado, we will get started.
Jessica, if you could share the slide deck, that would be awesome.
Oh, perfect.
All right, so good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are at. My name is Tara Schenkel, and today we're really going to be talking about Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations, or SDMO as we call it for short. Part of what we'll be going through today is really just talking about, well, what is SDMO? Focus a little bit on some of the challenges that we're seeing out in the market and in the business place with relation to distributors. And then I'm actually going to take you through a demo of SDMO. And so if we can advance the slide. All right, so what is Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations? So actually the first line of SDMO code was actually written about 2 years back. So it's a very new product, but it was really built with the idea of meeting the needs of small and mid-sized manufacturers and distributors who are really just looking to drive business transformation, and they're wanting something that's going to modernize their manufacturing and operations processes with a purpose-built solution. And we really feel like SDMO is fitting that need. It provides a cloud-native solution for manufacturers and distributors, but it's also super simple and easy to use. Just a couple of things with SDMO that really do set it apart. The product is currently getting new releases, new features and updates every single month. Because it's cloud native, there's no expensive or costly upgrades. And what I've been finding super exciting is that Sage is really listening to the end users, to the resellers. They're constantly updating the product roadmap and really looking at us to say, what features and things can we build into the software to make it work great for you? So it's a really unusual time in our industry to have something new that not only is being developed, but also gives us that ability to have a say in how it's really going to look. So it's been super exciting to see. Okay, Jessica. All right, so in terms of what SDMO can offer, it has the ability to do multi-site operations. And so when we talk about multiple warehouses, multiple locations, it could be multiple companies, SDMO will allow you to manage and distribute inventory from multiple sites. Again, it's native cloud from the first line of code. It has a native web API framework, which means it really can just be integrated with just about anything. It has inventory, stock control, warehouse automation, resource management, the ability to do procurement and suppliers, manufacturing and shop floor control, has sales and customers, can do distribution and fulfillment, and is really designed for operational leaders looking for that, powerful solution. And if you pair SDMO with Sage Intacct, now you're leveraging the multi-site operations management of SDMO, but then pairing it with the strength of Sage Intacct. So when SDMO was first written, the intent was that it was going to be a direct integration with Sage Intacct, which it is. But as we've been out in the marketplace, we're really seeing a need for companies who maybe have QuickBooks or Sage 50 to have the ability to integrate their accounting package with a stronger distribution software. And so SDMO also has the capability of being standalone. But if you're leveraging it with Intacct, you'll see we've got the multi-company financial reporting. We've got intercompany transactions, compliance, and government. So if you've just outgrown your accounting package all around, SDMO directly does integrate with Sage Intacct. Next slide. And so what does this mean? And really what it means is that although SDMO is independent, it can be connected. And so on the left, you'll see we've got distribution and manufacturing. So things like design, buy and put away, make and assemble, move and store, sell and distribute. That's all housed inside of SDMO. And then on the right-hand side, and again, it directly integrates with Sage Intacct, but we can have integration points with other accounting packages. But you'll see with Sage Intacct directly, we've got financial management, regulatory, fixed assets, and financial reporting. So it allows for, as I always say, the distribution and manufacturing guys to do their thing without being married to the accounting software. And SDMO really fills that solution quite nicely. Next slide. All right, so what does SDMO mean for standalone? So if you really have an accounting package and, QuickBooks, Sage 50, Sage 100, all solid accounting packages, but, in some cases, they've got an older, outdated mode. They don't offer in a lot of opportunities of web API. They're not always the easiest to integrate. And so SDMO really allows for that capability. So if you really do enjoy being in QuickBooks or you enjoy being in Sage 50 and 100, but you want something more modern and fresh for the distribution and manufacturing side, SDMO could be a viable solution for you. And so Stewart Tech actually supports integration with not only Sage Intacct, but also these other accounting packages as well. Next slide. And so, why did SDMO come about? Well, because in the marketplace, we were really seeing that, distribution has a lot of challenges. There's been the digital disruption. B2B buyers are increasingly, wanting a business to consumer experience. And, thanks to COVID, we've seen a over 366% spike in B2B e-commerce. And a lot of that is just due to people aren't always in the same places anymore. And now we need the ability to do things online and when possible, paper free. Continued supply chain uncertainty and reshoring. That's been a constant battle. With COVID, we saw, shortages taking people 9-10 months, to order things. And then, the upskilling and career development is even more important to today's workers as we see the younger workforce, they want to have something modern and fresh that they're using. Go ahead, next slide, please. And so some common business challenges that we're seeing specific to the distribution market is, being able to meet the customer specific expectations. A lot of times you're locked into the constraints of what your accounting system can do. So you're finding workarounds with Excel and Word documents. You're finding you can't easily scale. Poor visibility into inventory control, labor issues, system performance limitations. These are all things that we're seeing distributors really struggling with, how do we keep up? How do we match the pace? But they have a lot of manual workarounds. And so it's really starting to become a huge chore for these guys. Next slide. And so really where SDMO can deliver is really being able to engage, the employees. Mobility allows these next gen workers to meet their expectations. They can work from a website, they can work from their devices. Happy and satisfied customers because we're able to do e-commerce, and better customer service because we have the data we need to do it. And of course, because SDMO is in the cloud, you have the agility to be able to develop and work with different applications, and have that integration there for whatever your business needs might be. And then of course, artificial intelligence, which is one we're all hearing about pretty much every day, all the time now. But also quicker ROI. SDMO, unlike some of its competitors, does have a quick deployment. It's easy to start small and then just scale as you need to. And then lower operating costs. There's no expense for servers, IT people, constant upgrades and updates. All the updates are pushed out seamlessly. There is no costly upgrades that you have to go through. If you decide that there's an application you need to talk to SDMO with, it's more a plug and play situation than any kind of expensive rollout and development. So it's very easy to work with. Next slide. Okay, and really what's driving the new cloud ERP investment, right? So what's what are we seeing out in the market? You know, functionality, right? Being ready for your industry, right for your business, but being compliant and secure. Speed, being able to do anything from anywhere at any time, have immediate insights, and truly be able to collaborate with your coworkers. Simplicity, it's got to be easy to use, quick to learn, simple to manage. You know, gone are the days of these long, drawn out workflows. People just want to be able to drag and drop and click and work. And then most importantly, flexibility. It's adaptable, it's scalable, and it's open. So other companies and other software can work and talk to it. All right. Okay, so let's jump into the demo. Wonderful. Okay, so today we are going to have a heavy focus on our distribution side of SDMO. We did do a webinar, as Jessica had mentioned, back in February on the dashboards and the customization features of SDMO. So if you missed that, you can just head over to our website, and under resources for recorded webinars, you'll actually see we have our SDMO webinar right here. So if you're interested in learning more about the dashboards and the dashboard capabilities, I'd highly recommend this webinar. But what you'll see is when we log in, you have the ability to create dashboards that really help you manage your organization. And so if I'm in charge of distribution for my company, I have some key metrics that I want to match. I want to be able to do my visual process map. I want to be able to take action on things that are going on. And so you'll see with this dashboard, I've got my sales process visual process map. It lets me see from start to finish, what does it take to invoice a customer out? On here, I've got my orders that need to be delivered. So as inventory is coming into the building, I can refresh my dashboard and see real time, what orders can I send out? When something is ready to go, it's been shipped out, now it's ready to invoice, I now have my dashboard for this. So I'm able to really manage my organization, my company, and my job without really having to leave the dashboard. Everything I need is really here in a click. And so the dashboard capability really allows you to streamline the functionality. Now in SDMO, you'll see I do have my navigation bar. And the way everything is set up in SDMO, it's always 2 layers deep. So you'll see if I go to my items, I've got my item data, my bill of materials. Now what's really nice with this 2-layer deep concept is that I'm not spending a lot of time clicking through elaborate menus. I can easily see where I need to go and how I need to go there. And so this really allows for just simple and straightforward navigation. And so I'm actually going to head over to my item table. And you'll see here I've got this list view. I also have the ability to filter. And you know, just a word of caution, it's a powerful feature, but you can filter pretty much on anything in SDMO and have it stick. And so for example, if I want to filter on anything that's a good, I can click my indicator here. Notice I've got my filter. Now, if I were to leave this view and come back, it would actually retain the fact that I like to have this good setting here. And so I'll go back to select all. You also have the ability to customize in here. So if I wanted to add a column, I can open my column panel. Let's say I want to add status. And if I want to drag or drop status, I can just simply drag it to where I need it to go and close the panel out. And so you'll see even just customizing SDMO is very simple, very clean. If I need to export it to Excel, I can just hit the button up here and export the list out. And so for today's demo, I'm really going to focus on our 51 series chair. And so what you'll see is when we launch the item list, first thing you'll notice is on the general tab, this is really just giving me the basic lay of the land. I've got my inventory item name, I've got my ID number. Now, for those of you who are syncing with Sage Intacct, your ID number here is typically the inventory ID number that you would see in the inventory module of Intacct. So that's what that is here. I have my status drop down, so I can choose what type of item this is. You'll notice I have the ability to purchase, manufacture, and sell an item. Now I can do all 3. What's amazing with SDMO is as you choose your checkboxes, different tabs will disappear. So you'll notice when I unchecked purchased, my supplier information actually disappeared. And when I click it, you'll see that information actually came back. And so this really allows for user-friendly tabbing so that I'm not seeing any tabs that aren't relevant to the item that I'm setting up. SDMO does allow for lot and serialized inventory. So you'll see there's a lot. Now in this particular case, I don't have serial management turned on for this particular item, but I can set that up. We go to units. SDMO does a great job of allowing for multiple units of measure. Okay, so you'll see I've got my stock unit of measure. Now in this case, we're selling a chair, so our stock, purchase, and sales unit of measure are all equal. However, if I was selling, widgets or boxes of item, I can have my stock unit of measure be eaches, my purchase unit of measure could be cases, and my sales unit of measure could also be cases, but maybe of a different size. So SDMO allows the flexibility to sell and to buy inventory in the units of measure you need to. And when we get into some of these other tabs, you'll see that not only can I have unit of measures that are specific to the item, I can also make it so that it's specific to the vendor and the item together. So it's extremely powerful if you have a lot of situations where your unit of measure is very inconsistent with regards to who you buy it from or who you sell it to. SDMO is really able to meet and fulfill that need. All right, so now I'm going to head over to sites. And what you'll see here is that when we talk about sites, sites are really equal to warehouse or equal to locations. So when we talk about sites, sites is just the different places that I may have for an inventory item. It's also how you're going to manage the inventory and the stocking. And so in this case, on the Acme distribution, you'll see I've got this item, I've got it costed out, I have a required quantity, and I'm just going to hit the 3 ellipses. So anytime you're in SDMO and you see these 3 buttons, that means that's your more actions, so you can see what other features you have. And so when I load this up, you'll see here I've got my item. I have, if I want to have projected stocks. And when I click on replenishment, this is where I can decide how do I want to manage the inventory for this. So when we talk about replenishment method, and a lot of people in the industry hear the term MRP, right? Material Requirements Planning. And so if it's an item that I typically buy and turn around and sell, well, then more than likely I'm going to manage the replenishment based on reorder points, right? Reorder points means it's going to look at my sales orders, it's going to look at my stock, and it's going to look at my suggested safety stock and reorder points, and it's going to suggest what needs to be ordered based on that. Now, if it's an item I'm manufacturing, I can do MRP, and that would look at work orders, open sales orders, and budget based on that. And so you can have the versatility to really decide on an item-to-item basis, how do you want to manage the replenishment method? And so now if we head over to costs, you'll see here, this is where I have my cost. This is a standard cost item. Total cost is $329. And so again, this is for this particular site. So I'm going to hit cancel here. Right, so we talked about suppliers. Again, you'll see for office quality or quality office furniture, I've got my purchase unit of measure. So this allows me to decide when I buy this chair from this company, what's going to be my unit of measure. And so if we wanted to make any changes, you can see I can come in here and actually decide if this is my default supplier, what my supplier number is going to be. And so now I can see this information. And if I have any special pricing, I can dictate and set this all up from here. So for supplier prices, with quality office furniture, I have tiered pricing. So you'll see from 0 to 10, I'm paying $329 a chair. When I get to my next level, I'm paying $321, $309, and so on. And so SDMO does allow you to have, tiered pricing with regards to when you buy things, how do you want to buy them from your vendor? What are your price contracts? So now I'm going to switch hats and go over to sales. So now we're talking about selling to a customer. And when we sell to a customer, you can insist on having a minimum sales quantity, maximum sales quantity, base price, minimum price. And so this allows you to kind of enforce any ground rules you might have with how an item might need to be sold out. And so now if I click on sales prices, this allows me to build my tier pricing. So when you're dealing with customers, you can have pricing that is down to an individual customer level, like this guy here, or I can just have general customer pricing. So regardless of the customer, I might have, 0 to 15 is going to be at $545. Well, if they buy 16 chairs, I'm going to give that to them at $525, right? So you have the ability as you set up your prices to set up structures, or you can also make it customer specific. And so SDMO does allow for both of those features to occur. And so now when I hit on my customers, you can see the customers that are actually designated to buy this item. So you'll see I do a lot of work with Levine Furniture. I do handle alias functionality. So if they have a different number than I do, I can have that number in here. Here's my description. Again, my unit of measure. Now in this case, we're selling in eaches, but this could be cases. It could be, quantities of 12. It doesn't have to be eaches. My stocking unit of measure, my minimum sales quantity and maximum. And so just as you could do mins and maxes for all customers, you can also assign min and maxes for specific customers. And that can really be helpful if you're working with customers that you have maybe pricing agreements with, or something where a specific customer has to buy a certain quantity to really ensure they get their special pricing. SDMO will allow you to set all of that up. All right, so I guess before I leave the item screen, is there any questions on any of this? Okay, so plugging along. All right, so now I'm going to head back over to my dashboard. And so now what I want to spend a moment on is my visual process map. And really what I want to focus is the sales process. So one thing that really sets SDMO apart is the ability to have a sales process map and have that be part of the dashboard. And the goal with this is that in organizations where you maybe don't have tech savvy individuals, or if you have customers that have high turnover, or if you have high turnover, the sales process flow just allows you a way to let the employees work without having to show them, where inside of SDMO are all these things. So under the sales menu, I'm basically following the flow that's outlined here, but I'm able to do that right from this process map. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and click on the customer. And you'll see this brings up my customer list. And so again, very similar to what we saw with the inventory tab, you have the ability to customize your panels, do filtering, maybe a customization, or I might want to see as if a customer is on hold or not. And so you'll see I just added that over here, and if needed, you can auto size the column so you can see it. If you don't like the fact that it's too far over, just simply drag it and move it where you need to go. Maybe I don't care about currency, so that might be when I would turn off. Again, very easy and simple to use. So now I'm going to go into Levine Furniture. And you'll see, first of all, in my main tab, this just gives me the pertinent information about the customer. So their name, currency, legal entity, country of origin. If they are synced with Intacct, there's their customer ID number down here. When I click on the addresses tab, you'll see I have inside of SDMO the ability to have multiple ship tos addresses, and then your primary address is also your bill to. And so for companies that have multiple ship to locations, SDMO is able to handle that and have multiple contacts for each ship to that you might have. And so when we click on the financial tab is going to control things like their payment terms, their posting class, which that relates to SDMO, if I want to put them on hold or not, and if we have any minimum order amounts. So I might say, for Levine Furniture, I need the minimum order to be $1,000. And so I can enforce this minimum order number to be set so that anytime I do an order, they have to comply. Now I can see under items, these are the items that are currently active for this particular customer. So I've got my assembly training, my 61 and my 51 series chairs. You'll see here's my sales unit of measure, my stock unit of measure conversion. I can do minimums and maximums down to the item level to the customer. So you'll see this is very flexible with regards to handling situations where certain customers have certain rules of how they want to buy your product. And now you're able to set this up to ensure that those rules are followed. If I go to item prices, this is where you can see their pricing schedule. So for the 51 series chair, they have their 545 here. It's from 1 to 100 is their locked in price. So this will enforce that. And then I have internal notes. So the internal notes could be things, it could be preferences for the customer. It could be special instructions on how they like things done. But the internal notes does allow you a place to really stick any information about a customer that you don't currently have a feel for. Notes are great for that. It's also helpful for anyone who has access to SDMO because then they can see the information just at a click of the button. So I'm going to close out of the customer record, and now we're going to head over to sales order. So again, just following my visual process map, I'm going to click on sales order. And you'll see here, this is a list of all the sales orders that I currently have in SDMO, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. And so when you're doing SDMO, everything always starts with the location first. Where am I selling my item from? So I'm going to sell this from the Acme distribution. And then based on my site, well, then I can determine what customer I want to sell to. So I'm going to pick Levine Furniture. If I have a customer PO number, I can fill that in here. And so when you're adding lines, you can either choose to click right in this option here and start adding the line, or you can also add the line in the panel. And so here as I start to type, it starts to suggest. And I can change the description. I'm going to say they're ordering 100. I've got my quantity in stock. So you'll see here, SDMO will tell you right down on your screen below how much you have in stock. So I'm actually going to bump this up because I actually want to sell a little bit more. All right, so now I'm going to head over to price. So here you'll see there's my price. I can add a discount here if I'd like to. So maybe I want to do a 10% discount on the item. I can also add charge pricing as well. All right, so when I go to stock, you'll see I've got my stock available. I've got my stock shortage. So it's telling me right out of the gates, this is what I have in the system today, right? So if I want to move this order, I'm going to have to do something about placing an order. This availability to stock is something that a lot of accounting packages seem to lack. In order to get this, you have to log out of this screen, go to another screen. But with SDMO, you really have it all right here. So if I'm on the phone with the customer, I can see real time like, hey, of the 200 you're asking for, we're out of stock, so I know I'm going to have to place this order. Here's my address, delivery information, and then any notes that are specific to this particular item that I'm about to add. Now, if I had customer notes, I can also have the ability to see the customer line notes right within my sales order. So I'm going to hit apply, and now you're going to see me hit save. Okay, now this wording up here, and this is really specific to if you're using Sage Intacct, is I have the department dimension in Sage Intacct enabled. So what it's telling me is that in order for me to complete this item, I have to turn on or fill out my dimension. And so I'm just going to go to dimensions and go to manufacturing. And I like to show this because for people that do use Sage Intacct, it's nice to know you do have that multi-dimension reporting and capabilities right in the software. And note that I can't leave that item until I have filled that dimension out. All right, so now I've updated it. My sales order is in quote stage. And if I want to print the quote, I can hit the printer button here. And you'll see this is my sales order quote that comes out. Okay, and so now at this point, I can hit confirm. And so when we're confirming it, we're actually taking it from a quote to an order. And so now you'll see the sales order has been set to confirmed. The status is now pending. And at this point, I'm going to actually close go ahead and close out of this window because now I need to figure out my item stocking situation. So I'm going to go ahead and close my record. And let's just say hypothetically, I don't really know if I have enough of this item in stock or not. And so if I go to stock inquiries, and go to stock inquiry here, I can actually check to see for my 51 series chair, do I have enough in stock or not? And so now you'll see I've got 25 currently on hand. I've got 25 that's accepted. So at this point, I know I don't have enough. Now, let's just say I don't have time to go look up this item and see. I want the system to tell me exactly when I need to do something. So under stock, under reordering, I'm actually going to go to the stock reordering window. And in here, what I want to know is what exactly do I need to order today to fill any of the orders that I currently have in the system, where maybe I don't have enough in stock, or maybe I've hit my reordering threshold and now it's time to order more. So as we mentioned before, everything always starts with your company or your site. So I'm going to pick my company. Now, if you pick a company, you don't have to pick your site. And so I'm just going to do my 51 series chair and hit search. And right away, you'll see it's starting to tell me, okay, well, you know, these are the things you have in this particular company. So now I'm going to hit run. And right away, I've got a hit and it says, okay, well, for the quality furniture, you know, here's your supplier, here's your chair. The suggested quantity they're asking me to get is 200, and it's because I have 25 in stock, but I have a sales order for 200. So it's going to keep that 25 I have in stock for my safety. And now it's going to suggest I order enough to process that order. And so right from within my stock reordering screen, I can actually create the purchase order. And so this is a huge advantage for those that do a lot of ordering, because now I can actually just create the PO without having to leave the screen. Now, for the supplier, because Quality Office was designated as the primary, that's why that filled in. Acme Distribution and the chair is because these are the sites that I told it to fill in. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and put in my gross price. And then I can do my order date, my receipt date. And so now when I've hit create, you'll see up here, it's actually created my purchase order for me. And so at this point, now I'm ready to head over to my purchases and look at my purchase order. And we'll just discard that. All right, and right away you'll see here's my purchase order. It's in draft mode. So with SDMO, when you generate purchase orders, you do have a work approval process that you follow. And so any new purchase orders do have to be approved by someone in the system. Now, that can be the same person that generated it from the stock reordering screen, or if you have structures in place where it's got to be approved, then it can have an approval process. So I'm actually going to just open up my PO here. And first thing you're going to see me do is I'm going to hit submit for approval. And you can select the approver. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pick myself. Notice it pre-fills, and now I'm going to hit send. Now, in this world, normally, if I'm approving my own work, I don't need to email myself to let myself know that, hey, there's an order that needs to be approved. However, if you do not have approval rights, then you would need someone to log in. They'll get an email. When they get the email, they can log in and actually just click approve. Now, since I do have approval rights, you're going to see me just go ahead and approve the PO. And again, it remembers, hey, you have a dimension. And so this helps protect and ensure that your dimensions always get filled out. And again, this is something very specific to Intacct. So if you're not using Intacct, this would not be something you would see. So now I'm going to hit save. And again, now it's asking for approval. And I'm going to confirm the approval. So now you'll see my PO is approved. My status is pending. So this means that it's now ready for me to actually process this order. So we're going to flash forward and just go ahead and create my receipt. And you'll see right from the PO window, I'm actually able to create the receipt. And so now if I want to look up that receipt, I'll just go to purchase receipt. you'll see here, again, it's in draft mode. And so my receipt's been generated, but now I actually may have to go ahead and finalize it. So when you're doing your receipt, if you do have multi-bin inventory enabled, you will have to, as part of the process, tell it where it needs to go. So you'll see here under this required, the reason this required is here is because it's prompting me about where I need to put the item away. So when I click on stock details, this is asking me, well, where am I putting this? Now in this particular situation, I have my quantity in stock, I have my storage bin, that's where I'm gonna put it. And then you can have different statuses, but I'm gonna go ahead and just stick with accepted. And so now you'll see pending has now gone to entered. And in this case, I'm gonna hit post, and posting will actually release the inventory out to the system. You'll see it now says it's received. Now, if you're like me and you're a little bit of a skeptic, I always just like to double check my work. So I will go to stock inquiries and go back in. And I'm gonna look at my 51 series chair. And once this comes up, we'll see that I've now got 225 in stock. You know, it's always funny. I always kind of joke with people that everything works great until you need to demo it to a live audience. And then inevitably, you will have one thing that doesn't quite go as planned. So you'll see here's my 225. All right, so let me pause. So we've gone full cycle. We've created a sales order. We've ran a report and generated a PO from the report. And now we're at the point where we're ready to start shipping the sales order out. But I wanted to pause for a moment just to see if anyone had any questions before I continued. All right, so now you're gonna see, I'm gonna head back over to my home screen, and you'll see under my orders to deliver, I'm gonna click on the refresh icon over on the right. And I've noticed with this that every once in a while you have to click more than once. And I really don't know why that is. But the idea is that when you click on this, it will show or bring up all of the sales orders in the system where you have the capability to ship out. And so what I'm expecting to see here is that my sales order will now show up on this list. And this could just be a display setting. So I'm gonna just click this one more time. And I am getting no love today, so that's all right. We're gonna head over to my sales, and I'm gonna head over to sales shipment. And notice I've got right here, oops, my orders that are ready to ship. Now these are older orders, but if I hit create, now I can actually go in and start creating my shipping. So I'll pick Acme Distribution. I'm gonna pick Levine. And if I click add lines from orders, one thing that is really powerful with SDMO is if you're not shipping straight from the dashboard, you can have multiple orders go on to one invoice or one sales shipment. So in the sales shipment, when I clicked on the add lines from orders, you'll see I actually have the ability to pick multiple orders. Now for this particular customer, I only have one order that's outstanding, but if I had more than one order, I could actually add the different lines in here. And so you'll see I'll go ahead and hit add. And I'm gonna hit save. And what I love about SDMO is it kind of prompts you for what the next step is. So it's telling me that it's ready to process, but it's also letting me know, hey, you haven't allocated your inventory yet. And so again, if you recall when we did the PO receipt, I had mentioned that it's a bin location setup. So we do have to let the system know, well, where is the stock that I'm pulling from? And so you'll see I can click my quantity allocate, and I can choose how much I want to allocate and what location I'm allocating from. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm. And now you'll see the status is updated. So now it says, well, it's ready to ship. And when I hit post, this is when I'm actually shipping out that order. And so you'll see the sales shipment has been posted. If I want to print my documents, my shipping docs, packing lists, you can see here's my packing slip here. Now at this point, I can, if I want, create the invoice right from within the sales shipment, but I'm actually going to close out and I am going to head back to my dashboard. And the reason is the shipments to invoice. So now that I've done the orders to deliver, if I refresh my shipments to invoice, you'll see my order now shows up. And so if you're doing batch invoicing, you can actually select all of these and invoice right from within this tab. If I want to just do one off, I can just open the sales order here, and now I'm ready to create my invoice. And so when I hit create invoice, and I can print right from here. And you'll see that there. All right, so now we've actually generated our sales invoice. And so at this point, we have gone full cycle on everything related to SDMO that we think a distributor would like to do. So we started off with our review of the items, we went to the customers, we created a sales order, we then created a purchase order so that we could actually ship and sell the sales order out, and then followed it along with shipping it and invoicing it. And so as you can see, SDMO is really simple and intuitive to use. And so, for anyone that really has, the need to be able to do these steps of distribution without having to have a lot of complicated steps, SDMO is a great place to look. So Jessica, do you want to switch back over to the slides?
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much, Tara. That was incredible. Just
Okay,
to
and
kind
go ahead.
of,
Go ahead, Jessica. I will hand the floor over to you.
I appreciate it. So yeah, as Tara explained, this is really a solution that is filling a lot of holes in the market. And, we just wanted to highlight some of the customer feedback we've gotten. As Tara said, this is a product that they're developing, that they're really listening to the end user and to the partners. So, it's an end-to-end solution. It is a true cloud native ERP. People are loving how scalable and flexible it is. The modern, sleek, easy to use interface is probably one of the best benefits that we're seeing for the end user, because it's able to do really complex things in a really straightforward and simple way. So people have stopped worrying about managing the software and scalability. And it's just a simplified, more robust manufacturing solution than a lot of things you'll find in the QuickBooks or Sage 50 market. And then people do love that it retains the tie to Sage. Sage has been a software developer for decades now. They're one of the premier products in the space, and so you have that experience supporting this application as well. And as we talked about earlier, this is a series. We're super excited about SDMO and everything it can do for the manufacturing and distribution space. So on our website, we do have upcoming webinars you can register for. I've included the link here as well as hyperlinked it into the page. So we do have some product webinars for Sage Alerts and Workflows along with Sage Intacct. And then we have our manufacturing Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations webinar on April 10th. So we'd love to see you guys there. And we just really appreciate your time. We know things are really busy this time of year and just in life in general, and we appreciate you spending it with us. I'm Jessica Gardner, the Customer Success Manager. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My number is listed below. You can also click the link to book a call. And as always, you can visit us at stewarttechnologies.com or connect with us on LinkedIn. We appreciate everyone joining us today, and this will be available on our website for review. Thank you so much.